Hey, what's up everyone? Today we're going to talk about what happened to Matthew Stafford and what led to his trade to the Los Angeles Rams. Thanks so much for your support on the channel, everyone. We're almost at 1,000 subscribers and I really do appreciate it. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to stay up to date with all my videos. It helps me out a lot. Matthew Stafford was born in Tampa, Florida, but ended up in Highland Park, Texas by the time he was in high school. As a junior, he passed for 1,748 yards with 18 touchdowns. His senior season started slow as he missed the first 3 games due to a knee injury. However, he turned into a star when he came back as he passed for 4,108 yards and 38 touchdowns. All of this while leading Highland Park to a perfect 15-0 record en route to a Texas 4A state championship. Matthew had all of the typical qualities college recruiters looked for in a quarterback. Stafford actually ranked as the #1 recruit in the entire nation for the class of 2006. He was so highly rated that even Mel Kiper Jr. himself predicted that he would be the eventual #1 overall pick in whichever NFL draft he would declare in. This was before he even played a single game in college. Stafford would eventually decide to commit to the Georgia Bulldogs, however, and even graduated high school early so he could get started in college. Stafford started his freshman season at Georgia as a backup quarterback. However, he still played here and there before the starting quarterback was injured during their 3rd game that season. This led to Stafford becoming the first true freshman quarterback to start for the Georgia Bulldogs football team since Quincy Carter all the way back in 1998. He ended up completing 52% of his passes for 1,749 yards with just 7 touchdowns to 13 interceptions. Yeah, so not the greatest start to the quote-unquote superstar quarterback future he was supposed to have. But again, he was a true freshman playing at a time where SEC defenses were elite. However, in his sophomore season, things turned around as Stafford led the Bulldogs to an 11-2 record, finishing 2nd in the final AP polls. He would pass for 2,500 yards on 55% completions with 19 touchdowns to 10 interceptions. So he didn't have mind-blowing numbers, but he was much improved and made big plays in big games to help Georgia have a great season.
Stafford wants it all. Got it. Touchdown. Mikey Henderson on the first play from scrimmage.
He also had less pressure as the Georgia ground game had no Sean Marino to carry the offense too. For those of you that watched Georgia back in the day, you remember no Sean Marino was no joke. He was an awesome running back. That said, going into his junior season, the hype was real for Stafford being the #1 overall pick. Expectations were huge and many had the Bulldogs as a championship contender. They were even ranked #1 in preseason polls, and Stafford was a Heisman favorite. Many around the nation thought Stafford was going to take that next level up, that next step up, and become the best quarterback in all of college football. They started the season 4-0 before eventually losing to Alabama.
You had to throw in downs where you weren't expected to throw. Right. You had to throw early and disappoint Uga.
They played well most of the year, but ended with a 10-3 record. Stafford had his best season yet, however, passing for 3,400 yards on 61% completions with 25 touchdowns to 10 interceptions. Overall, he had a good college career, but not like many thought he would have. His numbers were good, but not amazing. He finished with an average of 57% completions for 7,700 yards, 51 touchdowns to 33 interceptions. So yeah, those weren't exactly #1 overall pick numbers. However, again, with his arm strength, NFL scouts just couldn't wait for a chance to see him. So let's focus on the main part of this video, Stafford's NFL career. In the 2009 NFL Draft, he was selected #1 overall by the Detroit Lions. I mean, that's amazing, right? Well, it's great to be the top pick and all, but he was drafted by the Lions. And I'm sorry, Lions fans, I really am sorry, but he was drafted to the historically awful 2008 0-16 winless Detroit Lions team.
Out, players were running in and out of the huddle.
Jennings was so wide open. If that pass didn't come up a little bit short, he'd be in the end zone now. Huddle, first down, second down to the 40, 2nd and 1. Kitna waiting, throws the right
there.
Second,
puts him down the left sidelines. He's going to the house. Raises the football in the air.
Basically giving this one to Green Bay. And throws another one. intercepted and on his way to the house. There's Collins down the right side.
Yard line. Orlovsky. Tried to set up the screen and he throws an interception.
On third down, Orlovsky, the takeaway, throws the slant off the hands of Williams. Intercepted Tillman, left sideline, 10, 5, 8.
Orlovsky, he's back to pass. He ran out of the end zone, safety. Dan Orlovsky forced out of the end zone.
He was coming to a team that had barely any talent at all as far as putting together a winning team goes. So Stafford was going from a team like Georgia, who had a lot of talent around him for the college level, to going to the absolute worst NFL team in the entire league. Although they did have one average okay player. But Stafford accepted the challenge and talked about how excited he was to get back to work and to help out the Lions and help turn around their franchise.
I'm going to put my nose to the ground and work, man. That's all you can do. And, winning cures everything. And that's something we got to try to do when we're up there in Detroit and have some fun doing it.
He was announced as a starter in the preseason and would be the first quarterback to start for the Lions since Greg Landry did in 1968. So take Stafford's early numbers with a grain of salt and remember what kind of talent he was joining. That being said, he would end up playing only 10 games due to various injuries throughout his rookie season, but he showed that he had the talent to be a starting quarterback in the NFL. He passed for 2,267 yards on 53% completions with 13 touchdowns to 20 interceptions. Amazing numbers? No, but again, he didn't have much to work with. In the games he started, he led the Lions to a 2-8 record. So hey, that was an improvement from the winless year beforehand. Shoulder injuries would rob him of his second professional season, however, as he was only able to play in 3 games that year. So let's skip forward to what takes us into the 2011 NFL season and Stafford's first full season as the starter. This is when Stafford finally played up to all the hype he had been receiving all the way back to his high school days. This year, he would end up passing for 5,038 yards on 63% completions with 41 touchdowns to 16 interceptions. He also led them to a 10-6 record and a playoff berth. Yes, just 3 seasons after their embarrassing, historic, terrible 0-16 season, they were in the playoffs with a star quarterback and star receiver. In the playoffs, they would face off against the New Orleans Saints and Drew Brees. Yes, quite the task to undergo, but believe it or not, the Lions led 14-10 at halftime. But as the second half unfolded and a couple of mistakes here and there, they ultimately lost 45-28 as they just could not limit the Saints' offense. Some say Stafford played great, some say average, some say terrible. I think it was somewhere in the middle. Stafford threw for 380 yards and 3 touchdowns, but he also had 2 interceptions. Brees would dominate the Lions defense, however, passing for 466 yards and 3 touchdowns. So again, it was a really tough draw. After all this time getting back in the playoffs, they would have to play such an ultimate team and quarterback in New Orleans and Drew Brees. Although it was a disappointing result, it was obvious that Stafford was the right choice and that the Lions had a bright future. So going into the 2012 season, after all the hype and the Lions have turned things around, they're going to keep going up, well, the Lions would fall back down to a 4-12 record, finishing last place in the division. They had one of the worst defenses in the league, but Stafford still put up decent numbers, passing for nearly 5,000 yards again with 20 touchdowns to 17 interceptions. So his touchdown to interception ratio wasn't great, but he did have a lot of yards. But again, I've said this for a lot of teams, a lot of my favorite teams in the past before as well. It's hard to blame a quarterback when the defense gives up a lot of points. I could make a separate video talking about how many great quarterbacks never made it far in their careers because they put up great points, great numbers, great yards, but they played on terrible defenses, not great teams. Anyway, it was a very disappointing season for Stafford and the Lions, but in 2013, things would ramp back up for Stafford and the Lions. This season, Stafford passed for 4,650 yards with 29 touchdowns to 19 interceptions. The Lions were actually 7-5 and in the playoff hunt and had some really good moments early on in the season, but they would end up losing 4 straight to end the season, leaving them out of the playoffs yet again. Now this takes us into the 2014 season where the Lions would again rise to playoff contention. they would finish the season 11-5 in where people thought they actually had a chance to make some noise. They even had the 3rd ranked defense this season. Stafford again had a good year with 4,200 yards and 22 touchdowns. This was by far the most promising season they had with Matthew Stafford, and it looked like they could finally break through this year. All of this led to a showdown with the Dallas Cowboys in the wildcard round. The Detroit Lions actually went up 20-7 in this game early in the 3rd quarter. However, they would not score again the rest of the game after 17 unanswered points. The Dallas Cowboys ended up stealing the game 24-20. There was a huge controversy that came out of this game as well. The refs made some questionable calls, and I'll just be honest. As all of you know on this channel, I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan. Always have been, die-hard fan. Yes, you can laugh at me. I've had some miserable years to watch through. But even I'll admit, as a Cowboys fan, we got a lot of breaks in that game, and if you watch that game, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But at the end of the day, the team fell apart in the second half and had to settle for field goals instead of touchdowns. You can't just blame it on bad calls. The Lions had plenty of opportunities to stretch their lead. All that being said, another disappointing season for the Lions, but hey, 11-5. They had a 10-6 record a couple seasons beforehand. They had Stafford, who had established himself at this point in his career as one of the best quarterbacks in the league, at least in the top 10, top 15. The next season in 2015, the Lions finished 7-9, missing the playoffs again. Stafford, however, had one of his better seasons, passing for 4,262 yards and an impressive 67% completion rate and 32 touchdowns to 13 interceptions. He definitely had a great season as far as stats are concerned. But again, they did make the playoffs, and honestly, the biggest story from this year was the shocking retirement of Calvin Johnson. Although health did play a factor in this, it was very public that Calvin refused to play for Detroit anymore. Detroit said they were not going to release Calvin Johnson and they were not going to trade him, so did what he had been telling them he was going to do. He retired. It's something we will talk about a little bit more later in the video, but the Detroit Lions management has a culture of losing, at least in the last 25 years. It has affected many of their players, and Megatron was another one. Probably the biggest one in my lifetime that I can remember. But let's skip forward to the 2016 season. Here, the Lions would finish 9-7, and as of this video, this was Stafford's last playoff season. Stafford passed for 4,327 yards with 65% completions and 24 touchdowns to 10 interceptions. And keep in mind, he did this without Calvin Johnson. The Lions would meet the Seattle Seahawks in the wild card round, where they were dominated 26-6. Yeah. Stafford and the offense just had no rhythm and couldn't put together any meaningful drives. Stafford passed with 205 yards with no touchdowns, no interceptions. It was just a pretty mediocre game to watch as far as the Lions offense went. And another big factor was just the simple fact that Seattle had a great game plan and chewed clock, winning the possession battle, and didn't really give Stafford a lot of chances to get any momentum in the game. There isn't really much to talk about after that, as over the 2017 and 2018 seasons, Stafford averaged 4,100 yards, 25 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions over those two seasons. Just like always, Stafford had his moments, but was not able to get over the hump with the Lions. In an injury-plagued 2019 season, he only played 8 games, but he did have a great touchdown to interception ratio of 19 touchdowns to only 5 interceptions. And finally, in the 2020 season, we saw him play in all 16 games, but the Lions finished 5-11. Stafford again had a great year. He passed for 4,000 yards with 26 touchdowns to 10 interceptions. I mean, he also completed 64% of his passes. So, okay, the main reason all of you are here. Why was Stafford traded? What happened? Well, it's really simple. Stafford has spent his entire NFL career trying to rebuild and hold together a franchise that continues to make bad decisions. And don't get me wrong, they had a few years in there where they were pretty decent. I mean, some could even say really good, but overall, the talent level in Detroit has just been brutal. And I hope you all understand that when I say that, I don't mean that they didn't have some talented players around them and that their roster didn't have years where they had, good players. It's just overall the culture in Detroit is losing. It's something I've talked about with the Browns as well. Now, the Cleveland Browns this past season in 2020 started to turn that kind of mindset around, and they had a great year and even won a playoff game. As far as the Detroit Lions go, however, It's just, again, they just can't put talent together consistently. It's really a shame because Stafford has so much talent, and you can see what he did when he actually had the help. One really big knock on Stafford has always been Calvin Johnson. Megatron made his career. A lot of people have said that over the years. And to be honest, I don't really understand why people say this. Yes, Megatron was one of the best wide receivers we've ever seen in the league. But think about this. For all of you that say the only reason he had good stat seasons were because of Calvin Johnson, let's look at his numbers after Megatron retired. After Calvin Johnson's retirement, Stafford has averaged 65% completions with 119 touchdowns to 46 interceptions. And again, it wasn't just the fact that he didn't have Calvin Johnson. He was on some teams that weren't even that good, and he was putting up those numbers. I see so many people online trash on Stafford, but when I watch him play, I see a really talented quarterback who has just gotten frustrated with the organization. And to be honest, I feel like in his play, you kind of saw at times he just felt stale. And I think a big factor that goes into that, and again, nothing against Stafford, is that he just wasn't motivated maybe. I think Stafford just got fed up with the Lions organization, and he knew that he could keep putting up great stats, but that he wasn't going to be able to lead the team anywhere. That led to the big move. The Los Angeles Rams traded 2 first-round picks, a third-rounder, and Jared Goff, former #1 overall pick, to Detroit for Stafford. Stafford and the new Lions general manager both agreed it was just time to move on. The team and Stafford each had to go in their own directions. The Rams already have a championship contender roster. They have a fantastic defense and a lot of great talent on offense. It's easy to see why they think Stafford will push them over the hump. The Los Angeles Rams finished last season 10-6 before losing 32-18 in the divisional round versus the Packers. Jared Goff played average in the game, where he just had a bunch of short passes, and as we all know, Stafford is the complete opposite, and he's a gunslinger, right? Now, of course, that leads to a lot of his high interception seasons and a couple of his big mistakes, but if I'm being honest with you, if Stafford was on that team, I think they would have put up more points at the very least. As far as I'm concerned, I think it was a great move for the Rams. I think they definitely got an upgrade over Jared Goff, and I'm pretty excited to see what the Rams do this coming season. If the Rams are able to keep a lot of talent around them on the team, I think Stafford's going to be a great quarterback for them for years to come. So that brings me to ask all of you, will Stafford become an all-pro quarterback now that he's on a better team? Will his gunslinger mentality help or hurt the Rams? I personally think Stafford will show people next season that he's still one of the better quarterbacks in the league, and I think it'll kind of bring him out of the shadows that he was in Detroit. Now, yes, if you're an NFL fan, you knew that he was having 4,000 passing yard seasons, 30 touchdown seasons. Most hardcore NFL fans know that. But again, when you play on a team that's consistently losing, a lot of people don't look at your stats or don't even really notice you that much. And Lions fans, again, I might have been a little hard on the organization so far in this video, but let me know if you're excited about Jared Goff. Jared Goff has had some decent moments early on in his career, but again, he just has moments where it's a lot of dink and dunks. Is it the play calling or is it Goff? I don't know. But Lions fans, let me know what you think he's going to be doing for you guys. Matthew Stafford is such an interesting player to talk about, and honestly, he has had so many great stat seasons, but not a lot of team success. In recent years, his completion percentage has really improved and been one of the best in the league. So I don't know, guys. Was it the Lions or was it Stafford? Was it the gunslinger mentality? What has kept him lower in the quarterback ranks over his career? And are the Rams going to help him rise to the top? And is he going to help them rise to the top? Super interested to see what you guys see in the comments down below. Again, thank you so much. We're almost at 1,000 subscribers. It really means a lot to me for so many people to be enjoying the videos. Again, please put suggestions down below of who you want me to talk about next, what teams. As you all know, I like to do what happened to players. I find it interesting to do research, but I also like to see what happened to a certain team from a certain year. So anyway, thanks so much for watching, everyone. I really hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to like it if you liked it. And again, let me know who you want to see next. As always, everyone, I'll see you in the next one.